lose a shit ton of weight, and get ready for your weigh-ins by waterboarding yourself. All right, guys, Josh here, Uncaged Fighter. So today we're going to talk about rapid weight loss by manipulating your consumption of water, okay? So we call this like a water cut sometimes. Main use case for this is if you're a fighter, right? You're in Muay Thai, you're in boxing, you're in MMA, right? And you have a weigh-in the day before a fight, you need to hit your weigh-in numbers, okay? And so you can rehydrate for the fight the next day. All right, main use case right there. Number two, if you're in the military and you have a weigh-in coming up, you want to make sure you hit your numbers right there. Number three, maybe you're doing some sort of like office weight loss contest. I used to have clients that would get into these a lot. You know, and you've been losing a lot of weight, but other people in your office have been losing weight too. And so you want to make sure you have that edge. All right, this is for you. I do want to caution you guys to be careful with this information. Listen to your body. You know, make sure the folks around you kind of, you know, your significant others, your friends, stuff like that, kind of have an idea of what you're doing, so they can kind of maybe watch out for warning signs and, you know, help you out, stuff like that, okay? Because we are going to be manipulating your hydration levels significantly here, okay? So it can be potentially dangerous. So you really need to listen to yourself. You know, I think, you know, in terms of just kind of covering my own ass, I'm not recommending doing this. So don't do this. I used to do it all the time when I fought. It's a 7-day process, 7 days out from a fight. This is how I would drop water weight. Okay, so let's get into the specifics of it, all right? So let's, like I said, this is a 7-day process. Okay, so let's say I have a fight, it's Friday, right? And I have a weigh-in for a fight on Saturday. The weigh-in for the fight on Saturday is going to be the following Friday. Okay, so that's 7 days away. All right, so that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right, I'm going to be drinking 2 gallons of regular water, just normal water, okay? And I'm going to drastically reduce my carbohydrate intake, okay? So when I was doing it, you know, this is 7 days before a fight. I would maybe, you know, Saturday and Sunday, I'd have my carbohydrates down to about 50 grams or less a day. And then the rest of the week, they'd be rock bottom. They'd be almost nothing. Okay, so you really want to drastically reduce that carbohydrate intake. You want to drastically reduce your electrolyte intake. So no sodium, no potassium. Try to really limit that stuff. And you got to be real careful with the vegetables that you're taking in. Obviously, no fruits because those are going to be high in carbohydrate. But the vegetables, some vegetables have their kind of sodium potassium levels kind of high, and so you want to really watch out for this. What I would do is I know a lot of guys who would do like just straight chicken breast, and they'd basically just eat chicken breast and broccoli. I could not take the broccoli. I'd rather die than eat a vegetable. And so I would just, and I didn't really like chicken breast either. So what I would do, I'd get the leanest ground beef I could find. And then I think at the grocery store, the leanest that I see is like a 97% lean or something that's incredibly lean for ground beef. And I would just eat that. So I'd eat like a pound and a half. So 3 meals a day, I'd just be eating ground beef. And that's what I'd eat. And so I know that sounds extreme. It is extreme. But that's how I'd be doing it. You could go with chicken breast. That's fine too. You just want to make sure you keep the kind of fat level low, and keep your protein levels moderately high-ish. I think with my water, with the water I was taking in, I would do, there's some brands of whey protein that are very low sodium. I actually just got the just pure whey, which tastes terrible. I'd put a little bit of that, but I don't advise doing that. Don't go with the whey. Just the water, ground beef, or the water and the chicken breast is perfectly fine. Okay, so we're first 3 days. We're cutting down our carbohydrates. We're cutting down pretty much everything. We're basically just eating mainly protein here. Okay, and we're doing that from really lean sources of protein, and that puts you technically on what's called like the medical terminology for it is a protein-sparing modified fast, right? And the first 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we are drinking 2 gallons of regular water. All right. On Monday, we're going to drop our water intake down to 1 gallon, right? 1 gallon of regular water. Okay. Day 5, so we only got 2 days left before weigh-in. We're gonna switch to distilled water. Okay, so we're gonna switch to distilled water. Now, distilled water is fun because it has nothing in there. There's no minerals, there's no trace anything. There's nothing to hold that water into your system, and it just has a tendency to run through you, and it pulls out everything. So we want to switch to distilled water. So about a gallon. Sometimes at this point, I would actually drop right here down to a half a gallon of distilled water. If I was really, really running high, my weight was kind of running high, and it was getting crunch time, this would be where I would actually drop the water down to a half gallon. Okay, so this is a Tuesday. I'd be on half gallon of distilled water. All right, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we're at half gallon. Wednesday. We'll do Wednesday. Wednesday, we're looking at we're going to look at a quarter of a gallon, or half a gallon, quarter of a gallon, just depends on how close you are, of distilled water. So half gallon to a quarter gallon of distilled water. All right. And then Thursday, going to be a quarter gallon of water. You want to try to finish that early on Thursday, so your weigh-in's going to be on a Friday. Generally for me, my weigh-ins were kind of early on a Friday. I like to have them early on a Friday. That way I'd get maximum time to rehydrate. But your weigh-ins may be different, so then that's fine. I like to try to finish my my quarter of a gallon on Thursday, and as soon as possible. And that way I could have as close to about a 24-hour period of zero water as I could. Okay, so once you finish that water on Thursday, you don't have anything until weigh-ins. All right, and so the whole time you're eating very lean protein, a few vegetables, if any. I didn't like vegetables, and it didn't kill me to not eat the vegetables, so that's fine. If you can just find, if you're concerned like fiber or whatever, if you can just find like the raw, like psyllium husk, like without any like added flavorings or anything like this, sometimes that'd be good. But you don't have to. You'll be fine. You will live, I swear. Right, like that. Yeah, so lean protein, you're drastically reducing that water weight. And when you actually go and step on that scale, I would lose, the most I ever lost was 20 pounds prior to a fight. So I had to weigh at 150 for a fight. I was walking around just prior to that fight in the 170s. And I weighed in at 150 for that fight. So you can lose a significant amount of weight. Now, how much weight you lose is going to vary. Now, I know it varied for me. Sometimes I'd only lose 10 pounds. And then, like I said, I lost as much as 20 pounds once. Usually it's around about the 15-pound marker. So keep that in mind. If you have time, right, if you're watching this video and you're like a week out today, you don't really have time to test this out to see how much weight you personally would lose, because like I said, it's going to be different for everyone. You're shit out of luck. Just run with the program, see if it works. It is what it is. But if you have time, test it out. Just run through a test case. When I was coaching fighters and stuff, that's what I would do. I would have like a test case to get an idea of what they'd lose. So like, maybe like a month or 2 months out from the fight, I'd say, hey, we're going to do a week of testing. We're just going to see how much weight you lost. That'll give us a gauge of where you need to be a week out from a fight, so we know that you're making weight. And so that's what I did. That's what I would do. Some other tips, make sure you're keeping your cardio up. I was still training, I was still doing bag work. I was still doing mitt work that last week of a fight. I mean, it wasn't as intense as the rest of the fight camp was, but that last week of the fight, I was still training. Still skipping rope every day, still working the bag, still working the pads. The sparring was like patty cake sparring. It was like barely sparring at all. So it was still light, and thankfully it was most of it was light work. I guess the pad work wasn't light. The pad work was never light. It was always miserable. But you want to still be moving. You want to still be doing stuff. That's going to help kind of sweat you out. Sauna suits, stuff like that. I never used them. I know guys who did use them, and it seemed to be pretty effective for them. So that's an option as well. I don't know if I would recommend actually going into a sauna. I'd have a buddy with me if I went to a sauna. But yeah, and the reason, so that's how it works. And so the reason that this works, and so now we'll kind of get into a little bit of the science of it, in case you're wondering. Why does this water loading and then restriction work? So basically what we're doing is we're putting your body into like a flushing mode, like we're just teaching it to dump everything, right? Because what we've done is we're manipulating this hormone, aldosterone or whatever, and its main function is to it helps with the conservation of sodium and secreting potassium and all that, blah blah blah. It might be vice versa, but it's this hormone. We're essentially just manipulating this hormone, okay, and we're putting our body into a flushing mode, right? And so the first 3 days we're loading up on water, and then all of a sudden we're kind of pulling this 360 on the body, and we're slowly tapering off the water. Well, to maintain homeostasis with all that water you're throwing on there, your body starts going, well, shit, we don't need all this. So you'll start pissing it out like crazy. You just piss. Well, your body doesn't, by the time you're actually starting to taper the water down, your body doesn't have time to make that switch. So even when you're consuming tiny amounts of water, you're still pissing constantly. You're still draining your system of all that excess water, okay? And it works like magic. It really does. You drop a significant amount of weight, and it dries you out. And like I said, you can lose. If I'm being conservative for you guys, I would say I would be surprised for an adult male, to not lose at least 10 pounds. I'd be very surprised. Females, it's going to be a little wonky because your hormone cycles and stuff like that, but it will work for the females as well. But yeah, so that is how to lose a significant amount of water weight in a very short period of time. And real quick, I'll do we'll have an image right there, and that's the program for you, what exactly you're going to be doing, so you can kind of screenshot that and look at it. I'll also have this information down in the description below, so you'll have it there too. But if you have any more questions or comments about this, please go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of content, I've got all kinds of dieting related content, Muay Thai related content. Go ahead and subscribe, because we're going to keep that stuff coming. All right, guys. And until next time, have a good one. Bye.